I think it's everyone around the world, and I think to your question, and a lot of what we've heard is that solutions are all around us. Sometimes they're just really hard to see. Whether it's a solution that's coming from Rwanda or whether it's a solution that's probably coming from the person sitting next to you, great ideas are there. Like you said earlier, we just have to have the right framing to understand what we're actually asking for. So the idea of coming up of what are we actually looking for an innovation for is just as critical as the innovation itself. We also apply a rule at Changemakers that there's a community out there willing to help you and excited to participate. You just got to go and engage them and be part of it. So I'll tell you a little bit about Changemakers, and those are sort of the things we do every day is we combine a clear demand for innovation with a global community of problem solvers. So over the past 4 or 5 years, we've built up tens of thousands of people in our community who are actively every day looking to help solve problems that range from access to clean water to new ideas for women in sport. Through that, we've been able to engage people in over 120 countries, and we've been able to connect their ideas and innovations to corporations like Citi and investors such as the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. For each competition that we do, and this is how we do it through an ongoing series of online competitions, and competitions are something you've certainly heard a lot about over the past couple of days, but for ours we have 3 general themes of which we follow, or principles which guide us. The first, like I said, you got to frame the right problem. It's not just any problem, it's the real problem that's going to get you the solution that you need. The second one is the actual process of the competition, finding a solution, should be as public as possible. It's the idea that you're not running a competition for a competition's sake. You're running a competition to produce essentially a marketplace, to essentially produce an ongoing market that's going to generate outcomes well beyond your efforts. And that's the last part, that you're really in it to produce impact. The idea to run a competition and to get awareness or produce some marketing or generate ideas is fine, but what are you going to do with it? What's the so what? And so we focus a lot on what impact are we actually having around the world to solve real problems. So we'll take a look at just sort of 3 examples of what's happened from our competitions. The first one is one of those where even when you know what you're looking for, it can still be really hard to find. So the Inter-American Development Bank came to us, and they were looking for the next great innovations in the field of tourism in South America. Despite having run their own competition the year before, they had no credible investments to look at, so they came to us. We matched them up with an annual competition we run with National Geographic on the field of geotourism. And within a few months, they had over 200 credible investments to vet. They invested $10 million, and they actually had so many innovations that they started online working groups inside of Changemakers to continue building those relationships and actually ask that community if they couldn't find even more innovations to particular problems that were rising. A second example is Nike came to us and said, help us understand what the market of women's fitness looks like in emerging markets such as the Middle East. We said, we don't actually think that's quite the right problem. We think what you're really trying to say is, help us find innovations that are utilizing sports to propel women's issues to the forefront of the social agenda in these regions. So with that framing, we launched an online competition. Once again, found hundreds of innovations around the world that are pioneering the use of sports with women's fitness. And Nike is now working with those organizations to understand how they would actually propel a women's market for sports. 2 examples of organizations they're working with. One is using fabrics or new textiles to actually create athletic-specific hijabs for Muslim women to play basketball and soccer. Another one is inside of Afghanistan, so this gets to that developing world or emerging market area. Inside of Afghanistan, we found a women's co-op that's developing and manufacturing soccer balls from locally sustainable products. So it's that idea that there are solutions out there, just you got to go and find them. The third example I'll give is a competition that we ran with, actually in partnership with the UN Foundation and the Global Water Challenge, to help find community-based water and sanitation innovations. One of the examples and innovations that came out of that was from Rwanda. It was a small startup called Mana Energy. And they were using clean filtration mechanisms to actually develop carbon credits for low-income communities. Through our competition, they got connected to Coca-Cola. They got a $500,000 investment from them, became a finalist in the competition, and were able to leverage that to get $4 million more from the African Development Bank, which ultimately allowed them to scale to 4 more countries. So what's interesting for me in our model is that all these examples happened in less than 4 months. So these are things that happen really fast. These are examples where those same organizations had spent years trying to produce the exact same, if not lesser results, but couldn't make it happen. And it was all based on simple things, using the power of competitions, leveraging the knowledge that a ton of people can bring you from around the world, and then being part of that actual community yourself to create that level of innovation. So we may talk about this some more in the breakout sessions, but that's sort of the model we use.